High Archon Lyra stood before the crystalline windows of the celestial spire, her iridescent form casting prismatic patterns across the chamber's pearl-white walls. The view of Etheria Prime's 3 moons, usually a source of comfort during her millennia of leadership, now filled her with dread. The latest quantum transmission from the outer colonies confirmed her worst fears. Another star system had vanished. "Speak freely, First Speaker Theron," she said, addressing the shimmering hologram of her most trusted advisor. "How many have we lost?" Theron's form flickered with patterns of deep indigo, the Etherian expression of grave concern. 7 systems in the past stellar cycle, High Archon. The Starweavers are evolving, learning. They're no longer content to consume only uninhabited systems. The Starweavers. Even the name sent ripples of fear through Lyra's crystalline body. They had appeared from the cosmic void 2 cycles ago, entities of pure energy that fed on the fundamental forces of reality itself. Stars, planets, even the fabric of space-time. Nothing was sacred to these cosmic horrors. "Our deflection fields?" Lyra asked, though she already knew the answer. "Useless," Theron replied. "We're a civilization of artists, philosophers, and explorers, High Archon. In 10,000 years of peace, we've forgotten the very concept of weapons. The Starweavers cannot be reasoned with, cannot be deflected, cannot be fought," Lyra finished. "Yet fight we must, or our entire civilization will perish." She turned from the window, her form pulsing with determination. "There may be one option." Theron's hologram shifted, expressing surprise. "High Archon. The Forbidden Archives speak of a species we've been observing for centuries. A species we deemed too dangerous to contact due to their violent nature." Lyra activated a holographic display, showing a small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system. "They call themselves humans. High Archon, you cannot be serious. The humans are barely beyond their planetary cradle. Their technology is primitive, their society fractured. They still wage war among themselves for resources and ideology." "Precisely," Lyra said. "They remember what we have forgotten. The art of warfare. The science of defense. The will to fight." Before Theron could protest further, a junior observer burst into the chamber, their form flickering with urgent patterns. "High Archon. First Speaker. The Starweavers. They've changed course. They're heading directly for the Centauri colony. 8 million souls." Lyra made her decision. "Prepare a quantum transmission to Earth. If we are to survive, we need warriors. And on Earth, every human is born knowing how to fight." 12,000 light-years away, Dr. Nikolai Volkov was having a very unusual night at the Kazakhstan Deep Space Observatory. The quantum detection array, a pet project he'd been ridiculed for pursuing, was going haywire. "Impossible," he muttered, adjusting his thick-rimmed glasses as he stared at the readings. The signal was unlike anything he'd ever seen, a coherent quantum transmission carrying vast amounts of data. And it was aimed directly at Earth. As he began decoding the message, his hands trembled. After 20 years of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, first contact was happening on his shift. But as the translation matrix processed the alien language, his excitement turned to confusion, then to fear. "Security Council." He spoke into his phone, his Russian accent thicker than usual due to stress. "Give me the Security Council. Now." Hours later, in an emergency session of the United Nations, Nikolai stood before the world's most powerful leaders. The chamber was dead silent as he projected the translated message. "To the warriors of Earth, we, the Etherian Collective, break our silence. Our civilization faces extinction from cosmic entities we cannot fight. We have watched your species for centuries, seeing only violence and conflict. Now we understand. You possess something we have lost. The knowledge of war. The will to fight. We offer in exchange our advanced technology for your military aid. Without you, our civilization dies. With you, we might survive. Time is critical." The Starweavers approach. The chamber erupted in chaos. Questions flew from all directions, Was this a hoax? A trap? First contact and an immediate request for military aid? General Kyungmin Park of South Korea rose to speak. Dr. Volkov, you're saying an advanced alien civilization is asking for our help because we're good at fighting. Not good, General, Nikolai replied. Essential. The Etherians have known peace so long they've forgotten how to defend themselves. We're their last hope. And these Starweavers? Asked the Chinese representative. What exactly are they? Nikolai projected the Etherian data. The chamber fell silent again as they watched entire solar systems vanish into cosmic anomalies that defied physics itself. They're planet killers, star eaters. And according to the Etherians, they're coming this way. Whether we help or not, Earth will eventually face this threat. President Hassan of the African Union stood. If we agree to this, how do we even reach them? Our fastest ships barely make it to Mars. The Etherians have included technical specifications for faster-than-light travel, Nikolai said, his voice growing passionate. They're offering us the stars in exchange for our help. But more than that, they're offering us a chance to prove that humanity's warrior spirit, our greatest shame, might actually be our greatest gift to the galaxy. As the debate raged on, Nikolai thought about the Etherian transmission. In all his years searching the stars for intelligent life, he never imagined first contact would come like this. Not with conquering aliens, not with wise teachers, but with advanced beings begging humanity for the one thing we'd spent centuries trying to overcome, our capacity for warfare. The stars were calling, and for better or worse, humanity would answer. Admiral Jun Nakamura stood in the massive hangar of the Yokosuka Space Command Center, watching as engineers integrated Etherian quantum drives into what had once been a Japanese destroyer. The sight still amazed him. Crystalline technology that seemed to bend reality itself, merged with humanity's crude but effective military hardware. The USS Normandy's conversion is complete, Admiral, reported Colonel Fatima al-Rashid, her crisp British accent carrying across the bustling space. That makes 12 vessels ready for deep space deployment. June nodded, studying the holographic display showing the status of what the media had dubbed the Starguard fleet. 3 months of unprecedented global cooperation had produced something remarkable, Earth's first interstellar armada. Russian nuclear submarines retrofit with Etherian shields. Chinese stealth fighters adapted for space combat. Indian and Pakistani missile systems reconfigured with quantum targeting arrays. And the crew integration? He asked, watching as another team of technicians struggled to interface human computers with Etherian crystals. Fatima consulted her tablet. Better than expected. The Etherian liaison, Observer Helios, has been instrumental in training our people on their technology. Though I must say, they find our military protocols disturbing. June could imagine. The Etherians were so advanced they'd evolved beyond the need for verbal communication. Yet they watched in fascination as human crews practiced combat drills and weapons training. To them, it must seem like hiring cavemen to defend a quantum computer. Admiral, a young lieutenant rushed up, tablet in hand. Priority message from Observer Helios. The Starweavers have changed course. They're heading toward the Proxima colony. The Etherians are beginning emergency evacuations. June's jaw tightened. They weren't ready. The fleet was only partially converted, crews still learning to use technology they barely understood. But ready or not, the enemy was moving. Signal all commands, he ordered. Operation Stellar Shield begins now. We launch in 24 hours. The next day, as Earth's combined fleet prepared for humanity's first interstellar military deployment, June addressed the assembled crews from the bridge of his flagship, the converted Indian carrier NS Vikrant. Men and women of Earth, he began, his words transmitted to every ship in the fleet. Today we embark on the most important mission in human history. Not for conquest, not for glory, but because an advanced civilization looked at all we've achieved and saw not barbarians, but protectors. He paused, letting his gaze sweep across his bridge crew. Chinese, American, Russian, Nigerian, Brazilian, former adversaries now united in common cause. The Etherians call the Star Weavers cosmic horrors, but we faced horrors before. Every civilization reaches moments that define them. The Etherians chose peace, forgetting the art of war. We chose a different path. We remember how to fight, how to defend, how to stand against the darkness. Today, we prove that humanity's greatest weakness might be our greatest strength. Observer Helios, a crystalline being of pure energy, floated beside June. The Etherians' form pulsed with patterns that the translation matrix interpreted as both hope and concern. Admiral Nakamura, Helios communicated, our scientists have finished analyzing your proposed combat strategies. We do not understand them. Your tactics involve deliberate sacrifice of resources, intentional misdirection, and what you call calculated risks. These concepts are foreign to us. June smiled grimly. That's exactly why you need us, observer. Sometimes the most logical solution isn't the right one. Sometimes you have to be unpredictable. Like your species' concept of the feint in combat. Helios's form flickered with curiosity. Deliberately appearing weak to draw in your opponent? Exactly. Your people tried to reason with the Star Weavers. You try to understand them. We're going to do what humans do best. We're going to fight them. The launch sequence began. One by one, Earth's warships activated their Etherian quantum drives. The massive engines hummed with power that seemed to bend space itself, creating corridors through the fabric of reality. Dr. Raj Patel, the fleet's chief science officer, monitored the readings with excitement. Quantum field stability at 98%, Admiral. The Etherian modifications are holding. We're ready for translocation. June took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. Humanity's first steps into the cosmos would not be a journey of peaceful exploration, but a mission of war. Yet perhaps that's what the galaxy needed, not just the Etherians' wisdom and technology, but humanity's fierce determination to protect what they held dear. All ships, commence quantum jump on my mark, he ordered. Target coordinates, Proxima Colony. We're about to show the universe that humanity remembers what the Etherians forgot. Sometimes peace must be defended with force. The fleet vanished in a cascade of quantum flashes, leaving Earth behind. In orbit, the Etherian observation post recorded the event with fascination. The species they had once deemed too violent to contact was now their greatest hope for survival. As the ships hurtled through quantum space, June studied the tactical displays showing their destination. The Proxima Colony was home to millions of Etherians, their crystalline cities and orbital habitats a testament to their advanced civilization. And approaching it, visible even through quantum space, were the reality-distorting forms of the Star Weavers. Colonel Al-Rashid appeared at his side. Engineering reports all weapon systems successfully integrated with Etherian power sources. Though I must say, sir, their scientists were horrified when they understood what our railguns actually do. June nodded. The Etherians had developed their technology for creation and exploration. Humanity had immediately seen its potential for warfare. Their railguns, now powered by Etherian quantum cores, could accelerate projectiles to velocities that would tear holes in space-time itself. Status of the experimental weapons? He asked. Dr. Patel's team has finished converting our nuclear arsenal to quantum-enhanced warheads. The simulations suggest they could disrupt the Star Weavers' energy matrices. Of course, we've never tested them. We're about to, June replied as alerts flashed across the tactical displays. Quantum jump complete in 3, 2, 1. The fleet emerged into normal space near the Proxima Colony. The sight that greeted them was both beautiful and terrifying. The Etherian city ships glowed like jewels against the void, their crystalline structures refracting starlight in impossible patterns. And bearing down on them, massive distortions in the fabric of reality that seemed to devour light itself, the Star Weavers. Battle stations, June ordered, his voice calm despite the gravity of the moment. Humanity's first interstellar war begins now. Let's show the galaxy why they called on us. The bridge erupted into action as Earth's warriors prepared to defend an alien civilization with everything they had, including the very violence that had once made them too dangerous to contact. most dangerous conflict zones. But nothing in her experience had prepared her for this moment. From the bridge of the HMS Excalibur, she watched as 3 Star Weavers bore down on the crystalline cities of New Helios, their reality-distorting forms making a mockery of physics itself. Multiple quantum distortions detected, reported Lieutenant James O'Connor, his fingers dancing across the hybrid human-Etherean interface. They're using some kind of gravity manipulation to tear apart the colony's outer defensive rings. Zara's mind raced. The initial engagement at Proxima Colony had been a disaster. Conventional weapons, even enhanced with Etherean technology, had proven useless against enemies that could shift between dimensions at will. 6 Earthships lost, with nothing to show for it except the knowledge that humanity's traditional warfare doctrine was woefully inadequate. What about the colony's evacuation status? She demanded. Etherean transports are still moving civilians from the inner habitats, responded Commander Yuki Tanaka. They need at least 30 more minutes to complete the evacuation. Time they didn't have. The Star Weavers were methodically consuming everything in their path, breaking down matter at the quantum level and absorbing the energy. Already, the outer rings of New Helios were beginning to dissolve, their crystalline structures unraveling like thread pulled from a cosmic tapestry. Captain, called Dr. Victor Rossi, the ship's chief physicist, I've been analyzing the sensor data from Proxima. There's something interesting about their feeding pattern. Zara moved to his station, studying the complex quantum readings. In her peripheral vision, she saw observer Helios float closer, the Etherean's crystalline form pulsing with interest. When they're actively consuming matter, Victor explained, they have to maintain a stable position in our dimension. They can't phase shift while feeding. Like a snake swallowing its prey, Zara murmured. Then louder, Lieutenant O'Connor, what's the status of those experimental quantum mines? Armed and ready, Captain. But previous attempts tried to attack them directly, Zara interrupted. We're going to try something different. Something human. She turned to observer Helios. You said your people have been observing Earth for centuries. Did you ever study our military history? The Etherean's form flickered with confusion patterns. We observed many of your conflicts, though we found your tactics difficult to comprehend. Then let me introduce you to one of humanity's oldest military strategies. Zara activated the tactical display. It's called a trap. 20 minutes later, the HMS Excalibur limped through space, venting plasma and trailing debris. Behind it, the Star Weavers altered course, drawn to the apparent vulnerability like predators scenting blood. They're taking the bait, Yuki reported, her hand steady on the helm despite the ship shuddering. All 3 Star Weavers are in pursuit. Of course they are, Zara said grimly. We've made ourselves look like wounded prey. And they're hungry. She opened a channel to the rest of the fleet. All ships, maintain position. Wait for my signal. The Excalibur led the Star Weavers on a desperate chase through the debris field of New Helios's outer rings. With each passing moment, the cosmic horrors drew closer, their reality-distorting fields beginning to tug at the ship's quantum shields. They're preparing to feed, Victor announced, studying his readings. Quantum fluctuations increasing. Stand by. Zara watched the tactical display intently. The Star Weavers were almost in position, clustering together as they prepared to consume what they thought was easy prey. Now, execute Operation Pitfall. Hidden throughout the debris field, quantum mines activated simultaneously. But instead of detonating, they began generating overlapping fields of quantum energy, creating a complex web of intersecting forces. It's working, Victor exclaimed. The mines are forcing them to fully materialize in our dimension. The Star Weavers, caught in the quantum web, were suddenly solid, their true forms revealed as writhing masses of dark energy. And they were trapped. All ships, open fire. Zara commanded. Concentrated barrage. The Earth fleet emerged from hiding, their weapons already locked on target. Railguns accelerated projectiles to impossible speeds. Quantum-enhanced torpedoes streaked through space. Etherean energy weapons, repurposed for war, lashed out with devastating force. Caught in a vulnerable state and unable to phase shift, the Star Weavers had no defense against the onslaught. One by one, they were torn apart by the combined firepower of humanity's arsenal. When it was over, Observer Helios turned to Zara, the Etherean's form pulsing with what the translation matrix identified as awe. This strategy, using weakness as strength, turning the hunter into prey, we would never have conceived of such tactics. That's because you evolved beyond conflict, Zara replied, watching as recovery teams moved to secure the battlefield. But humans, we've spent our entire history learning to fight smarter, not just stronger. Sometimes the best weapon isn't the biggest or most advanced. It's the one your enemy doesn't expect. The victory at New Helios marked a turning point in the war. Word spread quickly through both human and Etherean forces. The Star Weavers could be beaten. More importantly, they could be outsmarted. As Zara coordinated with the evacuation efforts, she received a priority transmission from Admiral Nakamura. "Well done, Captain. Your tactics have given us something we desperately needed, hope. But the Star Weavers will adapt. They'll be ready for this strategy next time. Then we'll come up with new ones," Zara replied confidently. "That's what humans do best. We adapt, we innovate, we find ways to win against impossible odds." She paused, watching as Etherean rescue ships docked with the colony's remaining habitats. "Besides, we're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. We're fighting for the future of two civilizations." In the aftermath of the battle, as human and Etherean crews worked together to salvage what they could from New Helios, something unprecedented began to emerge, a synthesis of two vastly different approaches to existence. The Ethereans' advanced technology combined with humanity's tactical innovation, their wisdom and humanity's warrior spirit. But even as they celebrated this first major victory, Zara knew the war was far from over. The Star Weavers would return, stronger and more numerous. And next time, humanity would need more than clever tricks to survive. Looking out at the stars, Zara thought about Earth's long history of warfare. For millennia, humans had fought each other over resources, ideology, and territory. Now, finally, they were fighting for something greater, the survival of intelligent life itself. Perhaps this was why the galaxy had needed humanity after all, not despite their violent nature, but because of it. Dr. Marcus Wong stood before the combined Human-Etherean War Council, his hands trembling slightly as he manipulated the holographic display. The quantum physics equations floating in the air were beautiful in their complexity and terrifying in their implications. "The Star Weavers aren't just consuming matter," he explained, his Singapore accent thick with exhaustion after weeks of nonstop research. "They're consuming probability itself. Each system they devour doesn't just disappear, it never existed in the first place." Lieutenant Colonel Diana Santos leaned forward, her Brazilian Special Forces insignia glinting under the holographic light. "What exactly are you saying, Doctor?" "I'm saying we're not just fighting for the present, we're fighting for the past itself." Marcus gestured to the data streams provided by Etherean quantum sensors. "Every victory we've achieved, every colony we've saved. They could all be undone if we don't find a way to stop them permanently." The council chamber, carved from living crystal in the heart of the Etherean flagship Genesis, fell silent. 3 months of brutal warfare had taught both humans and Ethereans harsh lessons. Captain Patel's trap strategy had worked once, but the Star Weavers had evolved, learning to detect quantum mines before they could be triggered. High Elder Novak of the Etherean Science Council spoke, her crystalline form rippling with concerned patterns. "Our latest observations confirm Dr. Wong's theory. The Star Weavers are growing stronger with each system they consume. They're not just destroying reality, they're rewriting it." Diana studied the tactical displays showing the enemy's advance. Despite humanity's best efforts, the Star Weavers had consumed 12 more systems. Each loss made them stronger, more resistant to conventional attacks. But as she watched the patterns of their movement, something clicked. "They're not random," she said suddenly, standing to manipulate the holographic map. "Look at their attack pattern. They're creating something. Like a web, or a quantum network," Marcus finished, his eyes widening. "They're not just feeding. They're building something. a structure that exists across multiple dimensions, powered by the energy of consumed realities. For what purpose? Asked Admiral Nakamura, who had joined the Council via quantum projection. Unknown, Marcus replied. But based on these calculations, when their network is complete, they'll be able to rewrite the fundamental laws of physics themselves. Diana's tactical mind raced with implications. How long? 2 weeks. Maybe less. The chamber erupted in desperate discussions. The Ethereans' quantum technology, humanity's military might, nothing they had tried had provided a permanent solution. The enemy was too vast, too alien, too fundamental to the fabric of reality itself. Then Marcus spoke again, his voice quiet but firm. There might be a way. But the cost? He swallowed hard. The cost would be enormous. He explained his plan. Using the combined knowledge of human nuclear physics and Etherean quantum science, they could create a cascade reaction that would weaponize probability itself. A quantum bomb that wouldn't just destroy the Starweavers, it would erase the very possibility of their existence. But such a weapon would need a focal point, High Elder Novak said. A physical location where multiple quantum probability lines converge. The center of their network, Diana realized. Where reality is already weakened by their feeding. She stood straighter. We'd need to deliver the device directly to the heart of their territory. A suicide mission, Admiral Nakamura stated flatly. I'll do it, Diana said without hesitation. The room fell silent again. My ship, the Conquistador, is the smallest in the fleet. We might be able to slip through their defenses. Diana. Marcus started, but she cut him off. You said it yourself, Doctor. We're not just fighting for the present. Every person I've ever loved, every moment of history itself, it all hangs in the balance. One ship, one crew, to save everything that ever was or will be. She smiled grimly. Those are good odds. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of desperate preparation. Marcus and the Etherean scientists worked frantically to construct the quantum bomb, while Diana selected her volunteer crew and prepared the Conquistador for its final mission. In the ship's lab, hours before launch, Marcus made final adjustments to the weapon that would rewrite history. The quantum harmonics are stable, he reported. Once initiated, the cascade reaction will spread through their entire network. It will unmake them, Diana. Not just kill them, erase them from ever having existed. And the cost? She asked quietly. He couldn't meet her eyes. Any matter within the reaction sphere will be redistributed across probability space. You and your crew won't just die. You'll be scattered across every possible timeline, every potential reality. But Earth will be safe? The Ethereans. If this works, no one will remember the Starweavers ever existed. No one will remember you. Diana touched the weapon gently. Then we'll do what humans have always done. Sacrifice everything to protect what matters most. She looked up at him. Just promise me one thing, Marcus. In whatever timeline becomes real, make it one worth dying for. The launch ceremony was brief. The combined fleet gathered to witness the Conquistador's departure. Diana stood on her bridge, her small crew of volunteers at their stations, each chosen for their unique skills and their willingness to die for a victory no one would remember. Admiral Nakamura's final transmission was simple. Godspeed, Colonel Santos. Though history may not record your sacrifice, know that 2 civilizations stand with you today. As the Conquistador engaged its quantum drive for the last time, Diana thought about the strange path that had led humanity to this moment. They had been deemed too violent to contact, too primitive to join the galactic community. Yet here they were, about to save it all. Helm, set course for the center of their network, she ordered. Let's show these cosmic horrors why humanity never learned to surrender. The ship vanished into quantum space, carrying with it humanity's greatest weapon and most noble sacrifice, the willingness to die so that others might live, even if those others would never know the price paid for their survival. Ambassador Kenzo Tanaka stood in the grand chamber of synthesis, marveling at how the massive structure embodied the union of 2 civilizations. Crystalline spires of Etherean design intersected with sturdy human architecture, creating a space that was neither entirely alien nor entirely earthborn, but something gloriously new. Strange, isn't it? Asked Dr. Raj Patel, now the head of the Joint Species Science Division. 6 months ago, we were considered too primitive to contact. Now we're helping design their cities. Kinzo nodded, watching as mixed teams of human and Etherian engineers worked on the latest quantum drive modifications. The chamber buzzed with activity as both species prepared for the historic signing of the Galactic Cooperation Treaty. Has anyone else experienced the memories? Kinzo asked quietly. Raj's expression turned thoughtful. The quantum echoes? Yes, most of us have them now. Dreams of a war that never happened, against an enemy that never existed. He paused. And a brave crew that saved us all, led by a woman named Diana Santos. The quantum cascade had worked exactly as Dr. Wong had theorized, perhaps too well. The Starweavers had been erased from reality itself, but the human capacity for memory proved surprisingly resilient to quantum probability shifts. People remembered two sets of histories, the one they were living, and ghostly impressions of the timeline that had been unmade. High Elder Novak believes it's because human consciousness operates on quantum principles we don't yet understand, Raj continued. We weren't just meant to be their warriors, we were meant to be their memory keepers. Before Kinzo could respond, the chamber's quantum sensors pulsed with arrival notifications. The Etherian High Council was arriving for the ceremony. The massive doors, etched with symbols from both cultures, swung open. High Archon Lyra led the procession, her crystalline form radiating patterns of joy and anticipation. Behind her came the combined diplomatic corps of Earth and Etheria, former enemies and skeptics now united in common purpose. Ambassador Tanaka, Lyra greeted him, her translated thoughts carrying warmth. Are we prepared to make history? Kinzo smiled. I believe, High Archon, that we already have. The ceremony that followed was broadcast across two civilizations. On Earth, billions watched as humanity officially joined the galactic community. In Etherian space, countless crystalline beings witnessed their society's transformation from isolated perfection to dynamic integration. We stand here today, Kinzo began his address, not as two separate species, but as pioneers of a new way forward. The Etherians sought us out because they needed warriors, but they found something more. They found partners. He gestured to the achievements displayed around the chamber, hybrid ships that combined Etherian quantum science with human innovation, new medical techniques that merged crystalline healing with human cellular biology, defense systems that incorporated both species' understanding of the universe. Some say our violent history made us uniquely suited to be defenders, he continued. But I believe it was something else. Our ability to change, to adapt, to see beyond our differences and forge connections even across the stars. High Archon Lyra stepped forward, her form shifting into the ceremonial patterns of major proclamation. The humans have taught us that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the wisdom to know when to fight and when to extend a hand in friendship. We thought we had evolved beyond the need for warriors, only to discover that true warriors are not merely those who fight, they are those who protect, who sacrifice, who dare to change the very fabric of reality to save others. Together, they activated the quantum-enhanced holographic display, showing the fruits of their cooperation, new colonies being established, scientific breakthroughs that neither species could have achieved alone, and defense systems that would ensure both civilizations' survival against any future threats. But perhaps our greatest achievement, Kinzo said, is not in our technology or our defenses, but in our understanding. Humans have learned to temper our aggression with wisdom, while the Etherians have remembered that sometimes preservation requires action. The treaty signing itself was almost anticlimactic, a simple pressing of hands and crystalline appendages to quantum-secured documents. But its implications would reshape the galaxy. Later, in a quiet moment before the celebrations began, Kinzo stood with High Elder Novak in the chamber's observation dome, watching the combined fleet conduct maneuvers. Human ships, angular and powerful, flew in perfect formation with Etherian vessels that seemed to dance through space itself. Do you think they're proud of us? Novak asked suddenly. The ones who sacrificed everything in the timeline that never was. Kinzo thought of his quantum echoes, memories of desperate battles, of Diana Santos and her crew flying into impossible odds, of Marcus Wong's brilliant, terrible solution. I think, he said carefully, they gave us exactly what they fought for, a future worth building. And the other species watching us? Novak's form flickered with concern. There are many who fear this union of human strength and Etherian knowledge. Kinzo smiled. Then we'll show them what we've learned, that the greatest power in the universe isn't in weapons or technology, but in the ability to grow, to change, to become more than we were while holding on to the best of what we are. As if to emphasize his words, a new ship emerged from the orbital shipyards, the first vessel jointly designed and crewed by both species. Its name, written in both human letters and Etherian light script, seemed to capture everything they had achieved. Synthesis. The ship's quantum wake painted the stars with colors neither species had seen before, a physical manifestation of what they had created together. Not just peace, not just cooperation, but genuine evolution, two civilizations becoming something greater than the sum of their parts. And in the quantum echoes of probability space, in the memories that existed beyond time itself, a brave crew led by Diana Santos smiled, knowing their sacrifice had purchased not just survival, but transcendence. The legacy of Earth's warriors would live on, not in weapons or wars, but in the courage to reach across the stars and forge something new. In the end, humanity's greatest battle had not been fought with guns or ships, but with the willingness to change, to grow, and to prove that even the most violent species could become architects of peace. The stars watched and wondered what this new civilization would become.